On August the 13th, 2015, a routine day out at Cedar Point Amusement Park for special education teacher James Young ended in tragedy after a spur-of-the-moment decision resulted in deadly consequences. After riding the Raptor Roller Coaster, one of Cedar Point's star attractions, he realised that his phone had dropped out of his pocket. Rather than wait until the end of the day, James made a fatal decision that would change his family's life forever. So what exactly happened that day? Let's talk about it. But first, a quick message from today's sponsor. Alright, before I dive into today's video, let me tell you about something that actually makes my everyday life easier. No nightmares or disasters involved. I'm talking about the Raycon everyday earbuds. I'm not sure about you guys, but I use headphones all the time, pretty much every day. Whether that's at the gym, walking around on my breaks, or editing at home or in a cafe. So if headphones are something you use every day, why not have the best quality tool for the job? For example, my favourite thing about the everyday earbuds is the massive 32-hour battery life. As someone who regularly forgets to even charge his phone, this comes in massively handy. Also, the noise cancellation is a lifesaver on long-haul flights or working in a loud atmosphere. And look, if you aren't a fan, there's even a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk whatsoever. I also forgot to mention that the case supports wireless charging, which is so handy. So, go to buyraycon.com/disasterthon today to get 20 to 50% off site-wide. That's up to 50% off everything on Raycon's website if you use my link. Thank you Raycon for sponsoring this video. Cedar Point, located in Sandusky, Ohio, has a rich history dating back to its founding in 1870, making it one of the oldest amusement parks in the United States. Originally a simple lakeside retreat offering a bathing beach and picnic grounds, the park gradually evolved into a major attraction over the decades. By the early 20th century, Cedar Point had introduced various entertainment options, including dance halls and early rides, catering to a growing number of visitors. Its transformation into a fully fledged amusement park began in the mid-20th century, when the Cedar Fair Entertainment Company took ownership and began significant investments into the park's infrastructure and attractions. Today, Cedar Point is best known for its world-class collection of roller coasters, earning it the title of the roller coaster capital of the world. Among its famous roller coasters are the towering Millennium Force, which broke records as the first Giga coaster when it opened in 2000. Steel Vengeance, a hybrid wood and steel coaster that continues to receive accolades for its innovative design, and of course, the ride which today's video is focused on, the Raptor. The Raptor Roller Coaster, which opened in 1994, was a groundbreaking addition to the park and the world of inverted roller coasters. Designed by Bolliger and Mabillard, the ride features a sprawling 3,790-foot track, starting with a 137-foot lift hill and a 119-foot drop. This propels riders through 6 inversions. One of its defining elements is the Cobra Roll, a unique double inversion that was a first for inverted roller coasters. The layout also includes a vertical loop, a zero-gravity roll, 2 corkscrews, and a high-speed helix that delivers intense G-forces near the end. After its opening, the Raptor became a signature attraction at the park, solidifying its place as a favourite among the theme park community. Leading up to the disaster in 2015, the safety record on the Raptor was remarkably good, but there were a few incidents that occurred over the years. The first notable incident took place in July of 2009, after a teenage boy complained about feeling faint on the ride. The Raptor was then closed down and he was transported to hospital. An inspection was complete and found nothing wrong, so it was reopened the next day, and the boy was released from hospital shortly after. The second occurred in June of 2015, when 37-year-old Theron Dane Miller was injured at Cedar Point when a gate on the Raptor roller coaster's loading platform unexpectedly closed on his leg, causing a 4-inch gash. The Cedar Point safety team treated him and he was taken to hospital for stitches. Whilst the park stated that all safety systems functioned properly, Theron disagreed, attributing the incident to operator error. In both of these incidents that occurred, the ride was running fine, and this was no different to the next incident, except this time it would end much worse for the person involved. That unlucky soul was Ohio native James Young. James Young was a dedicated 45-year-old educator and special education intervention specialist hailing from East Canton, Ohio. In the days leading up to the incident, he had secured his dream job as a guidance counsellor, a role he was enthusiastic about as the new school year approached. James was known for his ability to connect with students. He was deeply passionate about education and committed to fostering a positive learning environment. The Louisville superintendent, Michelle Schaefer, told local media, "What makes a teacher special and what made Jim special is that you've got to find that passion. You've got to find what makes every one of those students tick, and that's what he was good at." James was also a massive Cedar Point fan. He cherished the annual summer visits to the amusement park with friends, viewing it as a fun tradition before the school year began. Cedar Point held a special place in his heart, and on August the 13th, 2015, he had spent the day going on various rides with his friends before boarding the Raptor Roller Coaster. Eager to experience the famous Raptor Roller Coaster, James boarded the ride at 4:50 p.m, which had undergone all necessary safety checks before setting off. As the coaster launched through the track, everything proceeded smoothly, with the riders enjoying themselves before returning to the ride station. After disembarking from the Raptor, James suddenly realised that he had dropped his phone during the ride. After this realisation, James went up to park staff and told them that he had dropped his phone. He asked them to retrieve it, in which they said they would, but it would have to wait until the end of the day when the ride shuts off. This is pretty standard for theme parks if something like this happens, so James was turned away. James, frustrated, walked up to the metal gate separating the park from the roller coaster's danger zone to see if he could spot his phone. James then spotted his phone and decided he would take action into his own hands. He foolishly scaled 2 fences and entered the restricted area. He did this despite multiple signs warning him not to. The first fence James scaled was approximately 4 feet, and the second one was around 5 to 6 feet. As James was 6'6", they weren't exactly tricky for him to climb. Whilst James was in the restricted zone, in a split second, the Raptor roller coaster flew past at full speed. One of the metal cars of the train struck James in the head at 57 miles per hour. Horrified onlookers alerted staff who rushed to James. They called the Sandusky police detectives and firefighters who arrived on the scene shortly after 5 p.m. Tragically, there was nothing they could do. James had been killed on impact after sustaining serious injury to his brain. The riders on board of the Raptor were suspended in the air after what happened. Megan Moore, who was on the ride, said, "I was in shock because I didn't know what to do. It was terrifying." She went on to tell how she saw emergency services below trying to deal with the situation, saying, "We saw a bunch of cops, paramedics running towards the situation. Within roughly an hour, a vehicle from Groff Funeral Home arrived at Cedar Points Road, entering through a gate beneath the Blue Streak roller coaster. An ambulance was observed departing the scene, and emergency vehicles were lined up along the roadside. The ride was then closed down by the park, who released a statement saying, at approximately 5 p.m, a guest entered a restricted, fenced area of the Raptor roller coaster and was struck by the ride. Park safety officials responded immediately to the situation. Unfortunately, the guest has passed away. Local authorities are on the scene, conducting an investigation." As you can probably expect, there really wasn't much to investigate. The ride was inspected, but everything was working fine, and it was reopened the next day. Park spokesman Brian Edwards said, "The ride was examined overnight by state safety officials and found to be in safe working order, so it resumed operating Friday." So you'd think the story would end there, but not quite. James's family could not come to terms with what happened. His aunt said, "Jim was a very responsible, educated man. He wasn't someone who would normally disobey the law. I'm sure he didn't ever think in his mind he would harm or cause demise to himself. It's really hard to understand." So the family's attention then turned to the size of the fences that he scaled. His aunt said, "He was tall, 6 feet 6 inches and fast. I'm sure scaling that fence was nothing to him. He probably thought he could be over in a minute and be back." After this, his family wanted the park to replace the fence and make it taller, but officials at the park said they would make no change to the signage or the fence. This upset James's father. He said, "Certainly my son shouldn't have gone over the fence. There's no doubt about that. But then I believe the fence shouldn't have been so easy to get over. I believe that they should make it completely inaccessible for someone to get into restricted areas." This did cause quite the debate on the safety of restricted zones in theme parks, and questioned whether the public really knew the danger in entering them. There have been many incidents such as this one. I covered the Batman roller coaster disaster a year ago, where the exact same thing happened, so if you take anything from this video, stay out of restricted zones, because it is not worth your life. May he rest in peace. As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. Thank you again for the sponsor of today's video, Raycon. Sponsors like this help me create the content that you guys love. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.